You know, when these first came to Europe, they started at around 200,000 euros new. And a well-spec'd one like this, even more than that. But as they have now depreciated quite a bit in the used marketplace, I think that raises the question if maybe now is the right time to get one. Okay, so what we're gonna begin with is where is the market on this car, and is this car even a good buy to begin with right now, and what's the current market of it, and what's the previous market, and everything about the car basically. But what we're gonna start with is where this car started its journey, because as I mentioned in the beginning, this had a starting MSRP of around 200,000 euros, as you can see here, and depending on the spec and the options of the car, that they could go way to even 240. So this is the general range where most of the specs, most of the cars MSRP were here in Europe. I'm not talking US cars here, I'm talking EU spec cars here. That's what I'm talking about right now. And we're gonna get into the US spec Euro car debate later on in this video, and if you were to buy one, what car is the best to buy, what spec you should look for, that we're gonna look into later on in this video. But we are first, before even we start with that, we're gonna see if this car is even a good buy to begin with. But moving on to the current market, as you can see here, it's around 140 to 170,000 euros depending on spec, mileage, condition, and yada 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 yada. And as you can see here, it has depreciated quite a lot. It has depreciated around 70 to 80,000 euros. That's a lot for a 200k car. A lot. Especially because this car has not been here that long. But at this price, it is considerably more attractive than at this price, because what makes this car possibly hold its value pretty good in the future is because, I'm gonna be honest, this car has a magnificent engine, and it's mostly that, the engine of this car, because this engine is amazing. And I say this as a European, I like Ferrari, I like Lamborghini, I like McLaren, I am European, this is what I like. But I'm gonna be completely honest to say that the engine in that car is freaking amazing. It is absolutely sublime. And that's just what it is. And this is the biggest thing that's making this car hold its value. And also, as if you're a US American viewer right now, if you're a European, you will understand this better. These cars in America are not that rare. I'm gonna be honest, in America these cars are not that rare, but here in Europe these C8 Z06s are extremely rare, very rare. This is kind of the, this is way more rare here than a Porsche GT3, which is the competition, if you can say, the like-worthy model of Porsche, the competition. It is way more rare than the competition here. There are way fewer of these here in Europe. But even though this scarcity, and that is essentially why they held these prices for a while in the beginning, and now that there are a couple of them here, essentially as demand is not that high yet here for these cars, that is essentially why they have plummeted to here. But that is not the whole story, because we also need to understand that one of the reasons why the car has plummeted to this price is because of the US market. Because we need to understand that you can import these Anyways, we need to understand that we can import these cars from the US. So if you could buy one new for 200k, 230k, brand new here in Europe, but including fees and import and taxes, if you can import one from the US for basically a lot less money, let's say like 170, then why would you pay 230 when you can import one from the US for basically 60,000 euros less? And this is one of the core reasons of why this absolute plummeting of the market. And now there's a whole another situation in the US, like the car market there is very, very different from Europe currently. It is catching up in some ways here in Europe, but the car market in general, that's another discussion for another video completely. But I want you to understand, and I wanted to get the context of why the values went down to here from this original price, and that it's not just because it's a brand new car and that brand new cars generally depreciate a lot. That is not the core reason. This is the core reason why they have depreciated, because of the US market and because they produce a couple of them in the US that has tanked the market there. So that is essentially gonna bring down the market here. But now that it has stabilized to where it's not that much more expensive, or even if it is even more expensive to buy one here already in Europe than it is to import one. And this is why I believe that the market is going to generally be quite stable on these cars. But a point that I want to bring up is that there's a lot of discussions online, I'm gonna be honest, about the quality of this car. You know, is the interior quality that good? How does it compare to Porsche? How does it compare to Ferrari? Like, how does it compare to everything around it? And my honest answer is that I don't think that the quality is that bad, honestly. I think it's quite good in this car. Like, really good. Like, this is comparable to Porsche. And to show you, I'm gonna continue on with maybe a vlog or something like that, so I can show you. Hey, so welcome to the vlog, I guess. Normally I don't really do vlogs, but I guess welcome to my first time doing a vlog. But I think that we need to discuss the elephant in the room here before we even begin with the interior quality and the quality of the car in general. And it is that this car looks so much better than the base C8. Like, this C8 Stingray looks like a freaking brick compared to this. Me personally, I don't really like the standard C8, but the Z06 looks actually pretty amazing, if I have to say so. I mean, it is really dramatic, it's really, really wide, and it looks really, really freaking good, if I have to say it like that. I really like, you know, the wheels and the carbon ceramic brakes, and everything looks really, really good. And if we open up this car here and get to the interior, here you can see the interior of the car, and this leather, it feels really good. It feels like really good. You can see the carbon fiber accents, and I mean, the interior feels really, really good. And if we sit in the car, like, it is really, really good. Everything is really solid. Like, there's nothing, I will be honest, there's one thing in here that feels crap, and it is the indicator. Like, this does not feel that high quality. But otherwise, everything in this interior is like really, really solid. Like, the leather feel is actually quite decent, and the button feel, like, it is clicky. The paddles could be better. Like, there are some other paddles that are better in the business, but it is still really solid. So the greatest comparison I can give you to the quality of this interior is, I would say, the Porsche 911. Like, it is pretty much the same quality of materials as you would expect in any 911, like the leather feel and the feel of the interior in general. Anyways, this is all I had to say for the interior and the quality walk around. Like, it is really not that bad. Okay, so now back to the video. And what we're gonna discuss right now is even more in connection to how I think that this car is gonna hold value, and if this is the right car for you. Because this car, even though it has dropped a lot of money and is essentially way better value, we need to consider the other alternatives in this price bracket of around 140 to 170k. I will just remove this. So, what other cars can you get in this? And there's quite stiff competition. And we have, for example, you know, the R8, the Audi R8 V10. That is a really good car. We have, as I mentioned before, the 992 GT3. Like, this is possibly the most direct competition to this car, if I'm honest. The R8 and the 992 GT3. Of course, we have the 991.2 GT3 also, but that is like kind of course, let's say we put this in the GT3 here. We also have, you know, other cars like the F430, the F430 Ferrari. We have the Lamborghini Gallardo, and this is like the base competition that this car has. Of course, there are gonna be more cars, but this is like the most direct competition. And I will draw a line here because these two cars are kind of another kind of cars. These are like more, these are older cars. These are more like raw cars. This is more classic cars, if I can say modern classics. It's another type of car. And I think that this is for another type of buyer. Like, if you want something more raw, something more classic, and something a little bit more unique, then these cars, the F430 and the Gallardo, is going to be amazing for you. But if you want this more modern type of car, then the R8, the second generation R8, and the 992 GT3, these are going to be your toughest competition, your closest competition to the C8 Z06. And I honestly think that it goes up against that competition quite well. It doesn't, I think it sounds really good. As I mentioned, the engine is fantastic. But we need to consider that the R8 also has a fantastic engine. It's a naturally aspirated V10 that is possibly even an even better engine than the Z06. And the 992 GT3 also has a naturally aspirated engine, but it's a flat 6. It sounds, both of them sounds really good, and the Z06 sounds really good as well. But I think that it is like this. If you want to be more unique, then you buy the Z06, because there are way fewer of them than the 992 GT3. Like, in America, if you live in America, you might say that you see Corvettes everywhere. Like, the C8s are everywhere. In Europe, or where I live here in Sweden, like, that's kind of what the 911 is here. Like, you see 911s everywhere. Like, there's nothing inherently that special about a base 911, because you see them quite often here around. And that is just the truth. Of course, the GT3 is, you know, a more extreme, more rare car, but there are always, it is always going to be a 911. But I still think that this is a really good car. If you're gonna track your car a lot, I would go for the GT3. Even though the Z06 is an amazing track car also, arguably sometimes even faster than the GT3, I still think that if you're gonna track your car a lot, it is generally going to be a better experience for you. Especially because we need to consider the community aspect also. There's a lot of Porsche track community here in Europe, like a lot. So if you're gonna track your car, go for the GT3. If you are going to use your car on the daily basis, then here is the closest competition to the Z06, the R8, because I really think that it's a toss-up of them. Me personally, I think the Z06 looks better than the R8. It is more rare than the R8 here. I think that it is really a toss-up because the R8 overall in its production, I believe, is rarer than the Z06. Like, overall, it is a rarer car. It has a more special engine, but the Z06 looks better, and it is a really good car. But now, in terms of if you're gonna get a C8 Z06, what car is the best to buy? And I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There's one thing that you should avoid every time, and it is a 1LZ or a 2LZ car. These cars, these trim levels, we should avoid every time. We should not get these trim levels. The interior quality is not good. The leather feels not good, especially compared to the 3LZ. It is not good. We should get to buy the 3LZ trim. This is the bare minimum. I believe that every European spec car is a 3LZ, but you know, with US imports, there are a couple of 1LZs and 2LZs, 2LZs, or whatever you want to call it. The 3LZ is basically the better car. It is just better all around. We should not settle for anything less than the 3LZ. And another key option that we should look out for is the carbon ceramic brakes. The steels do not look that good on that car. If it has carbon ceramic brakes, it is immediately way better. And ideally, we should also look for a 07 pack car, basically with all the carbon fiber aero. Basically, what I want you to learn here is that we should look to get as much for our money as possible. We are going to look for value. We're going to look to get as much for our money as possible. Not the cheapest car. We're going to look to get as much for our money as possible. So we're going to look to get as much carbon fiber. The carbon fiber pack 1 is essential. Carbon fiber pack 2, level 2, is a bonus. That is what we should look for. The 07 package, of course, the exterior carbon fiber mirrors. Basically, everything, the more carbon fiber, the better. Carbon brakes, better. The 07 package is even better than that. And I think that a really high spec 07 pack car is going to hold really pretty decently right now in the current market. Because if you can get one of these at around 150k, like that is a lot of car for the money. And that is a really, I would say that is a pretty good car. And I would be extremely surprised to see these cars go under 110, 120,000 in the near future. And I'm not talking about, you know, the shit cars. I'm talking about, you know, the good cars, the good spec cars, like the proper cars. That is the cars I'm talking about here. But then another discussion, US or EU spec cars. And I think that it does not matter that much. The US spec cars, they sound better. So if you're looking for sound, get a US spec car, or you can just put an exhaust on a EU spec car. Like, it's going to be easier to live with here in Europe, an EU spec car, but a US spec car is going to be more, you know, exciting, and it's gonna sound better. That is the core difference, the sound. And also another thing is, should we get a 2026 or forward model, or a 2025 or, you know, earlier model? And the core reason I'm bringing up this discussion is because of the interior. And I think that in person, the new interior is better. It is just better. It is better looking, and that is just what it is. It looks more modern, and it is better. So if we can get a 2026 and onwards, that's a bonus. That is great. But I would not avoid a 2025 because it has, you know, a less modern interior, because the interior is still good. But if you can get a 2026 or forwards, that is a really good bonus, I would say. I think that the 2026 cars are going to be the better car overall to get. But as I said previously, we should not avoid the 2024s, the 2025s, just because of the interior, if we can get a good deal on them. For a final verdict, basically, I think that right now, if you can get one at around 160, to 150, or if you are very lucky, around 140k. This range, I believe that this car is going to be pretty solid and a really, really good car. I think that you're not gonna lose that much money on the car, and you're gonna look for as high spec as possible, as many options as you can, as much carbon, as low mileage as you can possible. We should focus on getting as much value for our money. And then, of course, you can consider the R8 and the GT3. And that is basically all I have to say today. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the comment section. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video and I helped you in your car buying journey. Goodbye.